have Donald Trump's actions on Venezuela left the Iranian regime nervous? Republican Senator Lindsey Graham posted a picture of himself next to Trump, who's holding a hat that read "Make Iran Great Again" on social media. The development comes as Iran continues to grapple with massive protests. The country has witnessed tens of thousands of protesters taking to the streets over the past few days. At least 20 have been killed and over 1,000 have been arrested by security forces. There are reports that slogans such as "Death to Khamenei" and "Long live the Shah" have been raised by protesters. Iran has now deployed its bust military force to crack down on the protesters. Trump earlier warned Iran that it would be hit very hard by the US if more protesters die. Will Donald Trump execute another regime change in Iran after Venezuela is a question that looms large, but is it as easy? I'm joined by military analyst Tom Cooper, and let's go straight across and ask him this. Tom, thank you for speaking with CNN News 18. Namaste. My first question, will we see a regime change in Iran too amid this entire widespread and popular unrest?
Well, there is a widespread unrest, civilian unrest, popular unrest. And this is lasting now for more than 10 days, which means it is a significant affair, something that must be taken very seriously. My only worry is the level of involvement of terrorist organization MKO. This is obviously active in some of the cases, at least in Western Iran. And this is not particularly popular in Iran, so it might tarnish the popularity of the entire protesting. But otherwise, it's a very significant movement. And now the question is, how is the regime going to react? Whether it is going to find a way to suppress all the protests, because there is protesting in something like 100 cities and towns around the country. Really around the country, not only in Tehran, not only in Esfahan, not only in Qom or in Abadan, but also in Tabriz, which is particularly important. So therefore, it is a major development.
But Tom, how is this significant uprising compared to what we saw in the last 10-15 years in Tehran or Iran? More importantly, something like the anti-hijab protests. Is it bigger than that?
It is different foremost in so far that it is not only, under apostrophe, it's not only relatively rich people of northern Tehran who are leading to protesting, but merchants all over the country. They went on strike and have closed their shops, for example. And there is this is happening all over the country, not just in Tehran, not just in Esfahan, not just in bigger cities, but all over the country. And this is why it's so important. So it's significantly different to anything we have seen over the last 10-15 years.
But what are the chances of a regime change, Tom, in this case?
Theoretically, there is always the option of a regime change. But for this to happen, the protesting would have to find support from at least one branch of the armed forces. And I haven't seen this happening yet. So I do not see, particularly I'm skeptical at least about the outlooks of protesting resulting in a fundamental change. They might result in some temporary ease of oppression by the regime, but nothing particularly durable. That is at least the way I see it, based on experiences from the last 10-15 years. On the contrary, I expect the regime to become ever more brutal, to react with ever more oppression, ever more violence. And then it's the crucial question whether the protesters are going to decide, okay, they are going to push through nevertheless, whatever happens. If they manage to do that, if they manage to attract enough support and the Iranians continue protesting by hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions, then there is a chance of a regime change. But unless that happens, I don't see this ending in particularly positive fashion.
The IRGC has been very critical in helping the Khomeinis hold on to power in the past. And this time around, like you said, it's spread to hundreds of cities because it's largely economic. It's not cultural, it's economic, also driven by US sanctions. Do you believe the US sanctions on oil and this entire inflation surge has a role to play in this unrest? Because it's unprecedented. We've not seen something like this in the last decade.
Well, large part, that is relative, excuse me for expression. It is actually so that much of it is self-made.
Okay.
That is the primary reason for all the troubles in Iran. Mismanagement, corruption, endemic corruption, which is incredible in Iran. Incompetence, nepotism, really all sorts of negative developments in regards of the economy. So it's the economy, or the government has, or actually the IRGC has forced the government into tying the entire country's economy to China. Of course, this is where the US sanctions are becoming important, because they have limited Iranian options to export its oil and gas to China alone, and China is paying in its own valuta, which means Iran is earning nothing except Chinese money, which it can spend in China only, and that on Chinese conditions. Therefore, the total situation is no surprise, because Iran cannot survive alone from cooperating with China. So, U.S. sanctions are certainly causing massive problems, additional problems, but these problems are in addition to what the government, or actually the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, has already caused to Iran. Therefore, it's a mix of both of this which is influential.
Right, but just like we saw Maduro plucked out in Venezuela, rest remains the same. Is it going to be as easy to replace the Ayatollah Khamenei?
We have seen last year in June Israel attempting something similar. That means to assassinate the entire government, top of the government, top of the armed forces. And they have killed lots of generals of the IRGC. They have almost killed the leader of the Islamic Revolution, which is also the strongest man in Tehran, Grand Ayatollah Khamenei. But they failed nevertheless. And Iranians are capable of replacing all the assassinated generals in a matter of 20 to 180 minutes. So, plus Iran is far further away from the United States and much bigger than Venezuela. So it wouldn't be as easy to pull such an operation. Foremost, what happened in Venezuela was not some kind of a coup or regime change operation, but actually it is so that US President Donald Trump is after enriching himself openly, without any restraints, and some 45, 50 other super rich Americans, empowering them, and therefore everything he does must be seen or assessed from that point of view. It can be interpreted in millions of different ways, but it must be seen from the point of view of Trump enriching himself and his 45, 50 buddies. So what happened over there was that they were on the search for somebody with whom they could reach an agreement, according to which the United States would re-establish itself in possession of control of the Venezuelan oil. They couldn't reach such an agreement with Maduro, therefore they have removed him, and now they are trying to to find an agreement with Maduro's replacements. On the contrary, in Iran, they have nobody to talk with. Of course, there is a Shah of Iran who is in exile, and he is prominent and trying to position himself as an alternative to the quasi-clergy regime. But he has, while relatively popular within relatively small circles in Iran, he has no such authority like Maduro used to have in Venezuela. Therefore, the starting points are entirely and fundamentally different.
True, but you say Iran is not the same as Venezuela, and the Americans were looking for someone more pliant. But is this entire unrest and threat of perhaps being uprooted and unseated, could this push the regime under the Ayatollah and the Iranian regime to weaponize their nuclear program, Tom? Is that a threat?
Crucial question in this case is this. Between 2003 and 2006, Grand Ayatollah Khamenei has issued this nuclear fatwa. Nuclear fatwa is prohibiting Iran or its armed forces from keeping, possessing, and storing operational nuclear weapons. They can't have all the ingredients, all the parts they need to assemble one, but they are prohibited from assembling one. Why did he do that? Because he knows there are lots of hawks between the IRGC generals, and they have spent billions on developing the capability to manufacture all the parts for nuclear weaponry. But, as said, the very leader of that Islamic revolution, of the Islamic Republic, has prohibited them from doing that. Unless that changes, unless this fatwa is recalled in one way or the other, I do not see a fundamental change in these regards. Of course, the IGC is going to continue pushing in regards of obtaining the capability to manufacture all the parts necessary to assemble nuclear weaponry. They are going to continue, they are going to rebuild the capability to manufacture such all the parts, all the necessary items.
Yeah.
But actually assembling and then deploying nuclear weaponry, that is an entirely different story, and this is not going to change as long as Khamenei is still alive.
Well, Tom, you make a point till the time Ayatollah Khamenei, it's not going to be so easy to displace, but there is trouble brewing, and this is unprecedented. We'll see what happens in the coming days. Will the people vote for a more liberal, more open society in Iran? Is it all coming back a full curve? We'll have to wait and watch. We'll keep close tabs, because what happens in Iran, viewers, will have an impact on Bharat too. And there are many who will be watching very closely as to what's transpiring there. And the American influence, how much of it will play a role in this region, because it's just across the Arabian for us. We already see an American influence in the neighborhood with Bangladesh, and we are seeing another nation's influence in the neighborhood. Let's shift focus to that. Closer home, Bharat today firmly rejected Chinese infrastructural projects in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir's Shaksgam Valley, saying that the region is part of its territory and condemning attempts to alter the ground reality. Now, at a press briefing earlier in the day, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randir Jaiswal said, Shaksgam Valley is Bharatiya territory. We have never recognized the so-called China-Pakistan boundary agreement signed in 1963. We have consistently maintained that the agreement is illegal and invalid. Listen in.
Shaksgam Valley is Indian territory. We have never recognized the so-called China-Pakistan boundary agreement that happened in 1963. We have consistently maintained that the agreement is illegal and invalid. We do not recognize the so-called China-Pakistan economic corridor either, which passes through Indian territory that is under forcible and illegal occupation of Pakistan.
1963 onwards, this issue remains. Again, critical matters, viewers, which have not been addressed over the last many decades, which continue to pose an imminent threat for Bharat. Now, this is that entire Shaksgam Valley region. You see that small delta, the triangle between Pak-occupied Kashmir and also Bharat. And the other side, you have Aksai Chin. Look at those critical parcels of land that are Bharatiya territory, but we have, in many ways, the Dushman sitting there. And what are we doing about this? Beyond platitudes. Is that not a fair question to ask? And more importantly, with the Chinese firmly embedding themselves there, we have allowed that entire road to be built on Bharatiya territory. And we have said, we have done nothing. We have said a lot. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra with us, Lieutenant General D.B. Pandey also with us. Namaste, Jai Hind, gentlemen.
Namaste.
Sir, being some plain speak here, and honestly, with due respect, Jai Hind bolna kafi nahi hai, sir. It has to materialize also. Vande Mataram has to materialize. This is Bharat's property, the world should know. Beyond just saying it. What are we doing? They are building road after road. They are firmly entrenching themselves around us. Ambassador Saab.
Well, I'm glad you sort of started by saying that Shaksgam Valley was given by Pakistan in 1963. There's a history to it. It was given in 1963 because 1962 happened, and Pakistan saw an opportunity in giving about 5,000 square kilometers of Indian territory to China And thereafter, the history became different for Pakistan-China relationship. Secondly, I think a large number of us in India do not know what exactly is POK. We think it's Muzaffarabad, and that is it, just about 30,000 odd square kilometers. But the fact is that more than 70,000 square kilometers is Gilgit and Baltistan, which is what you showed regarding Shaksgam Valley. And that was the original Jammu and Kashmir. Gilgit-Baltistan and so-called POK and the entire Jammu and Kashmir was under Maharaja Hari Singh. And we had to part with that huge area in 47-48 operations. Now, the importance of Shaksgam Valley Road, to which you were alluding, is that this 70-odd kilometer long road was started in something like 2023 end or so. By early last year, they had completed 37 kilometers. Probably by now, they may have completed the rest of it, knowing Chinese and the way they operate. Why is it important? It is important because the end point of this road is just below Siachen Glacier.
Yeah.
And from the other side, as you pointed out, Aksai Chin sits very close to Siachen Glacier. In fact, the line of actual control is just about 9 kilometers away from Siachen Glacier. So we will be squeezed from both sides. I'm sure General Pandey will have more on this. But the graver thing, and why is it that our ministry responded so gravely to the issue today, is the entire circumstance facing India or enveloping India today. Trump is after us. He's not talked of any other country in the manner that he's been talking. Everyone knows that manner, almost on a daily basis. Why is it that he has singled out India, with whether it was about Operation Sindoor and his role in it, or alleged role in it, or the tariffs, for which he singled out India for the maximum possible tariff, which could increase to 500% if that resolution is strictly followed. So this sends out a strategic signal to those who are already inimical to India, I mean China and Pakistan. This could very well be the opportunity they are looking for.
No, Ambassador Saab, the point is that 500% talk, we'll come to that in a bit. That's the latter half of our following discussion. We'll come to that in a bit. But with due respect, sir, point is, if we are calling this our territory, we have to also show that we want to defend our territory. Is that not fair? Where will nations take us seriously if we don't go beyond platitudes? If we don't back our words with real intent? General Pandey, is that unfair? I'm not somebody who's warmongering here. It's about if America can go to the other side of the world on the guise of trying to protect its integrity and its people and American people. It can bomb nations and engineer regime changes. Bharat can't defend territory that it believes it's its own. 5 decades after this. Ji.
Yeah, Bharat can surely defend its own territory, and we are well organized and equipped for it. But please understand, it has taken you and your channel to 6 decades to talk about Shaksgam Valley or the areas which have been ceded, virtually not talked of in so many years. And Ambassador Dogra ji has really truly pointed out that somewhere for too long we were trying to brush all these things to ensure possibly peace will come, tranquility will come, and China's behavior will change, and maybe we don't have to go through a conflict-driven situation. And when the whole bouquet of national element of powers are considered, and you're looking where you are in the power projection scheme, you realize that possibly you need to focus on economy more, so that you continue to engage rather than having a military force to apply, which you're referring to the Americans having gone and done in Venezuela and other places. So the bottom line today remains that firstly, we have taken, and if you recall, we discussed Shaksgam about 3-4 months back.
Yes.
The same platform. And since then, it has again now taken this time to talk of about Shaksgam and what's going on to the side. And I keep on harping that our principal enemy and contestant is not truly Pakistan, it is China, which we need to manage. The challenge which comes about this area and why Pakistan chose to give in 1962, 1963, when this 1962 happened, they realized that it is better to reach out to the stronger guy in the region and give away this territory which they could not manage because this was across the Karakoram track, right?
Right.
The construction, by the way, this laid bare for a long time, and the compulsion for the Chinese to make this road has happened basically because the western route which has gone through Gilgit-Baltistan, which even this will also go through, had some major challenges which are happening on that side because of this thing. So this becomes an alternate construct for them to be able to avoid those areas of challenges. For us, I commanded Siachen Glacier as a colonel, and I remember nearly 21 years back briefing the President of India when he made his first visit, Dr. Abdul Kalam. And my briefing was not about Pakistan and Siachen. And that point of time, in presence of very senior dignitary, I opened my line that today you are standing at a place which is sandwiched between China and Pakistan. And I, sitting here, I need to look back and in front both. Right now, they don't have forces and they don't have infrastructure, but eventually it will come. And therefore, we need to look forward to it. So I'm just saying this is a very, very opening line in a statement which I made, and it's a huge
General Saab, if you just pause there, I'm just going to walk up and I'm going to show. I was watching this, viewers, when General Saab was talking. Interestingly, he makes this point. Let's try and understand this. This is where this is the map. Okay, so this is Jammu and Kashmir, and if you can just zoom in a bit for the benefit of our viewers, this triangle here. This is the Siachen Glacier. Now, this is what our troops went there, sacrificed their lives, and went and accessed and now control. General Saab, if you can watch the screen, please talk us through this. So, this is where Lieutenant General Pandey is saying that the President APJ Abdul Kalam, when he was here, that's when he said, I've got Pakistan on this side, I've got China on this side, and Bharat is here. But there is enemy from both sides which is trying to straddle. Now imagine if Bharat had not sat and not captured Siachen Glacier. If Bharat had not captured Siachen Glacier, we would not have any oversight or any control. And this whole land parcel, this is Aksai Chin. This whole plateau is Aksai Chin. This is what, not a blade of grass grows there, and Nehru signed off. Now if this is what is signed off, imagine all of this would have been under Chinese control. This is Pak-occupied Kashmir, and this is the Shaksgam Valley. This is the Shaksgam Valley where the Chinese are now building road to connect from here. They're building a road over Aksai Chin, connecting over this place and into Shaksgam, and then west of Gilgit, and that's where they want to come down further. This is what they're doing. Yes, General Pandey, please. The next map will show how much of this road has been built. Yes, please.
So the next level of illegality about this entire thing is, by the way, which possibly we need to talk about at the ministerial level, and I think Dugraji will be able to elaborate more about it, is that this area belongs to Jammu and Kashmir. And, he highlighted this point that we don't often talk about these areas. We don't even talk about Gilgit-Baltistan, and we don't also want to talk about POJ. Jammu, if you look at it, the corollary and the very colloquial system, we talk of Kashmir and we talk of Muzaffarabad, we don't talk, because if you don't talk about it, how are you going to posture and think about taking? And I must confess, there is always a thought that will it be possible to take over? But I feel that if you have an intent, you make up our time and our opportunity will come to take over our areas, which are actually truly Bharat's, right? So we need to focus on that. The second is this issue being controlled by Xinjiang autonomous region.
Yeah.
So the control which is being managed here from Xinjiang by itself is an occupation by the Chinese, need to be highlighted and talked about in open forum. After all, while today international organizations are defunct, they are controlled by people who are far more power or manipulative. But the fact is that we need to keep on registering this part so that at the level of lawfare, legal warfare, we need to contest this while preparing. And today, when you say that why can't we take over physically,
Right.
we have to understand that the balance which the government has to take or think about politically and geopolitically has to be put forward.
Jain Saab, lot of respect, and I have limited understanding of geopolitics and how it works. But this is how the Chinese have worked over the last 5 decades. They have just kept slicing without an open confrontation. Why didn't we learn from them? Look at this. Depsang, they have disputed and they have tried to occupy, slice, they have come back. Karakoram Pass and this region, again, slice, they have done. This is the Shaksgam Pass. And just like I said, this is Upper Shaksgam Valley, and this is the road. This is the road that's being built, the road 24-25. This is the Shaksgam Pass. This is the new road that's being built. This is Xinjiang or East Turkestan. Now, East Turkestan is again occupied territory. This is not Chinese territory. This is pawned off to them by the Pakistanis. It's not even theirs to pawn. This is Bharat's territory. This is Bharat's territory on this side. That's the Akshay Chin, which we've pawned off. And they are circling and they are pushing their intent. And if you look at what General Pandey was saying, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, can we just flip to the previous map, just the previous map image, please, to show where Gilgit and Muzaffarabad is, the earlier map, the larger map that shows India. Yeah, let's go back to the first map, please. Yeah, this is the first map. Now you see this. This is Jammu, and this is all POJK. It's read as Pak occupied. This is POJK, larger Jammu. This is the narrative. There is this area which is POJK. And this POJK we don't talk about. We talk about POK. So again, control of the narrative and Jammu, all this greater Jammu, this entire region of Gilgit-Baltistan, which actually comes under Jammu, is again not spoken of. Jammu is not just this region. This is all Jammu, which is now being clubbed under POJK. So we have these issues of narratives, and we also have not followed the strategy to hunt and hurt the Dushman like they have tried to do. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra. And this is of immense importance at a time when geopolitically we see regime change after regime change, orchestration of the hegemonistic powers, while they continue to circle us, sir.
Firstly, I'm glad that General Pandey in his briefing 20 odd years back had focused on China. For a young officer, he was a colonel at that time, that was very astute strategic thinking. But since that time, China has virtually mapped out the entire area as its own. Since that time, China has been consistently saying that we know exactly where LAC lies, the line of actual control. Whereas we have been repeating ad nauseum that LAC is not defined, we are not very sure where LAC is. So if you are not sure of your own borders or of your own territory, then how can you go and say that we want to have control over this territory? That is point number one. Second, just lodging a protest that no, this is occupied by China or Pakistan and no road construction should go there. I'm afraid, I'm being a little blunt on this, but this is not going to make any difference at all. The difference is when you match your words with action. Unfortunately, we've not done it. There is a feeling that A, we do not know where our boundaries lie. B, that we do not wish to take on China, especially at a time when China seems to be stronger even than America in military terms. Thirdly, we are also not sure how much of cooperation between China and Pakistan would be in case of a conflict, despite knowing that they were like twins during Operation Sindoor. So the challenges are many, and I think General Pandey also hinted at a very important point of mountain warfare. Some of it we experienced during Kargil, and our men and officers did tremendous job in getting back that territory. Kargil was not a victory because we just got back our territory. Victory is when you take other countries' territory. So the challenges are many. We should have open discussion like Anand, you have been having. Not many other channels are doing this. And I think it is also time for India and its people to get to know what is realistic. And if it is not realistic, let's give that territory as we've been giving a lot of territory in the previous decades to various countries. But if we are serious, then we should not confine ourselves only to issuing statements.
True. The other thing is it points towards a lack of long-term vision, because we are facing problems at the Siliguri corridor. We are facing problems at the Kartarpur Sahib and that side. Places where we had the opportunity to take 20-25 kilometers of territory, swap, whatever, at that point in time. And in the long term, it would have saved us so much of geopolitical heartache and also security, national security concerns. There's another angle, sir. Look at how the Chinese are embedding themselves in Pakistan. Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us these details that Pakistan has made a fresh set of security commitments to China amid growing concerns in Beijing over the safety of its citizens and investments in the country, particularly those linked to China-Pak Economic Corridor. Top security sources reveal that Islamabad has agreed to allow the establishment of Chinese security posts described by officials as inner posts inside Pakistan, marking a significant shift in bilateral security cooperation. Pak's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi during his visit to Beijing reportedly signed a confidential agreement with China's Ministry of Public Security. Under the arrangement, Pakistan has assured China of a broader and more robust security framework, including the creation of Special Protection Units or SPUs dedicated exclusively to safeguarding Chinese nationals. Now, these SPUs are being established across major urban strategic locations including Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi, Quetta, Sukkur, Peshawar, Gwadar, and in Gilgit-Baltistan. That's Pak-occupied Jammu Kashmir. It's not even sovereign territory of Pakistan. The units will work alongside existing military deployments that already protect key CPEC installations. Ultimate snub to failed Marshal Munir, yes, but more importantly, China now having boots on ground inside not just Pak territory but Pak-occupied territory. General Pandey.
So look at the contradiction. While Pakistan is willing to go for money and get deployed in Gaza, fight for Saudi Arabia, go to against the Houthis and against Yemen as a front force or a proxy of certain Arab nations, and of course for American security purposes, cannot manage its own territory is a big exposure, and allowing the Chinese forces on their own territory to protect the Chinese or their own assets is something which no professional army or no self-respecting country or the government can allow to do. It's a big come down, but there's a challenge for us, right? Any boots on ground for the Chinese on towards our side adds in Pakistan adds to a different level of commitment and different level of intelligence gathering and monitoring which happens. It is going to be very, very intimate, and that we have to be very careful of. I must also tell you that in last about 20 years, last 10 years, 15 years, in the garb of trying to protect the CPEC and look after the Chinese assets which are coming along with the BRI project, Pakistan has been able to raise more than three division forces, two very, very clear, and much more than that they have been able to raise through the funds which have been received by the Chinese and the Americans in last about 2 decades to protect. That adds to a certain degree of power parity in terms of military forces to be applied during operation when the time comes against our country. So that's a major thing. But I'll just articulate few points which I have my view, what Dogra ji has said. One says that, look, when you brush something below under the carpet for so many years, that goes away from your mind and it doesn't remain alive in the mind of thinking people who rise to some degree of importance at some point of time, and nations' fortunes rise, and there's a graph which happens. China will always not remain on top. But if you are not going to keep on talking about this issue as a narrative, the Gen Z youth or the millennial today will not know what was Bharat. Eventually, this, by the way, this territory of Gilgit-Baltistan, Shaksgam, Aksai Chin, and far more deeper into the plain of TAR is very, very likely. In fact, Aksai Chin and Shaksgam hardly has anything, right? So these are barren areas we always thought, and if you recall, there's a statement given by a very top political leader, that not a blade of grass grows. Why should we go about that place? So when you have a mindset अपनी जमीन के बारे में अगर आप ऐसा सोचते हैं, तो naturally जमीन आपकी कोई लेके जाएगा. So that is very, very important, and I thought we discuss this issue. We need to keep on talking about what is the true line of our extent of our Bharat's territory, which will be reclaimed. I am sure it may not happen in 5 years, it may happen after. After all, China started this whole project in 1953.
Yeah.
Right? That point of time, 53, China was nobody, non-entity. They started, they befooled, they had a strategic deception rollout plan which was done, in which they befooled our top leadership by saying that Hindi Chini bye-bye is all fine and therefore we will remain restricted to our own areas. And every time they have befooled that nice guy, good guy kind of an attitude, this thing from our Indian strategic community, that okay, we will just pass time. The fact of the matter is, there is no time to pass. While we may continue to deal with them on the economic front, we need to keep on talking hard to them that we know what you're doing, and oh, by the time we are watching, we are developing our own capacities, and okay, we'll come back and take what is our due. If you don't do this, it is going to go away. And last 3 to 4 decades, why have we not invested into our military power? Why is it only last a decade we have started rolling out roads and infrastructure to reach out to the border areas? We are 4 decades behind in infrastructure, and we are trying to catch up. It's so difficult to catch up. The second is, we are also so behind in our military infrastructure to organization to actually be able to match up, not only in technology but in terms of equipment with the Chinese. So please understand that right now, to thump the table and say why can't we take it, why can't we do this, we need to look back, why did we not? But then we need to look at future, have a plan, have a focus, and I'm sure there will be a time when the graph of China starts coming out.
At that time, we have to be ready, General Pandey. What I'm saying, I'm not saying that we're going to take it tomorrow. I'm not saying we're going to take it today. But like you said, that the Chinese are working on a 100-year blueprint. What is Bharat's blueprint and what is Bharat's purpose? And is there a blueprint that beyond political dynamics and political parties, the nation will follow very clearly to ensure that our future generations continue to live in a land that is Bharat, in a map that they recognize from their grandfathers, and not that one that is altered? That's what I was trying to say here, that we have to realize that we have to go beyond just platitudes. We have to go ahead and show that we know not just how to guard our territory, but also take back and hold on to what is truly ours, rather than just making platitudes. Moving on for the moment, we'll have Ambassador Rajiv Dogra join us. General Pandey stays on. Bharat has very clearly rebutted Team Trump's claims on trade deal and said it was in a wait-and-watch mode on the tariff threat. The Ministry of External Affairs said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had spoken to US President Donald Trump 8 times in 2025 amid strained New Delhi-Washington DC ties over the free trade agreement. His remarks came shortly after US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's assertion that US-India FTA negotiations had stalled because PM Modi didn't call President Trump. Donald Trump backed a 500% tariff bill on Russian oil, which could impact Bharat's crude imports. The MEA stated that it is fully aware of the proposed bill being discussed and is carefully monitoring all developments connected with it. Listen in.
Sheet the contracts and set the whole deal up. But let's be clear, it's his deal.
Yeah.
Okay? He's the closer. He does the deal. So I said, you got to have Modi. It's all set up. You have to have Modi call the president. And they were uncomfortable doing it. So Modi didn't call.
Incidentally, Prime Minister and President Trump have also spoken on phone on 8 occasions during 2025, covering different aspects of our wide-ranging partnership.
Well, Lieutenant General D.B. Pandey, security analyst, Glenn Carl, former CIA officer, Sunil Alag, market strategist and managing director of SK Advisors with us. We should also have Ambassador Rajiv Dogra join us in a bit. But first, let's try and understand how do we look at this? Is this pure bluster? The 500% tariff, will it even get passage via the, how do I say, the US Congress and the Senate? Will it get approval from the Senate, this 500% tariff bill, Sunil Alak? Or is it a message to Bharat now?
Look, I mean, message to Bharat is to China and Russia. What he's done is where might is right. He's taken over Venezuela, acting president. And he's said about Greenland that he's going to do it. And now the bill says 50% to 500%. Now, let him try and do 500% to us. But if he does that, then he's in deep trouble because he has said to various people that, look, there's a midterm poll coming up. And Republicans, he's approached them saying that if Democrats rule the House of Representatives, he's bound to be sued. And therefore, he is now preparing for the middle part. And that's what I feel that, look, up to 500% doesn't mean a damn thing to India. Up to 500% means what? He likes Modi, he said 50%, our stuff which is there, we are used to 50%. Now, if he increases it any further, then we are getting closer, he's driving us closer to China and Russia. That's what he's doing. But as far as he's concerned, Russian oil, he said, do not buy from these companies and the following companies, and Reliance has already said we're not buying from them. So now we followed a lot of things because Modi has decided that, look, he is going to now play not just a waiting game, but if he increases it any further, then America is asking for trouble.
Glenn Carl, how would you see this? Weaponizing of trade and to make these claims, is it all around one man's ego now?
The short answer is yes. Trump's policies and philosophy, and I'm not being facetious here, consist of his ego. He thinks in the moment. Whatever he believes makes him appear strong, makes people pay attention to him, or he thinks can extort, force a concession from whoever he's dealing with in a zero-sum world is what he will do. Now, that said, and he believes in tariffs. He does not understand economics or trade, and he thinks that mercantilism and autocracy is the only strong way and sensible way to run an economy and a country. But all that said, he also, if not a coward, is a pragmatist. In a sense, he recognizes reality. So people have wondered why the American economy hasn't shown many effects from the tariffs he's imposed. And the reason is because he talks about 50% tariffs or 500% tariffs, and the effective tariff rate for all countries is about 10 or 15% above what it was before. So it's much less in truth than it is in his rhetoric. And I expect that that is how it will play out with India.
No, but then what about any rules-based order? Or is it now kosher for nations to weaponize trade and play this game? It's open and brazen. This allows other hegemonistic powers to go ahead and openly conduct themselves in the same manner. Glenn Carl, and then...
That's absolutely the case. I'm sorry to jump in, but this is really an important point. I'll try to be brief.
Yeah.
I've been saying, as many others have been saying for years, but certainly it's one of my main statements, is that Trump has no interest in or appreciation for whatsoever the post-1945 normative rules-based order. Imperfect as it was, nonetheless, everyone should see the global benefits that it provided really to everybody. But he doesn't want any of that. And yes, might makes right now, and he is accepting and fostering a sphere of influence world where the United States dominates the Americas, China will dominate Asia, and Russia, it's near abroad, with European struggling to unify and the global South thinking that it's getting good deals bilaterally, but progressively being disenfranchised and victimized.
General Pandey?
Yeah, so unfortunately, like so many others, I'm quite fond of Trump because I'm a soldier And what I like about him is that he's cut out all the facade which was being done previously by multinational, those so-called rule-based orders, in which the colonialism continued to be, pushed down on the world, rest of the world, by a few powerful people. And I think, second, please understand that he's also realist. He understands how to use word, how to use narrative, how to put fear. The unfortunate part with India, what has happened is that possibly he has understood Modi, and that is why possibly he's not tried to push him publicly in a manner the way he's actually done so many other. And maybe Modi and his team who's guiding him have also understood that in case you're going to go on a telephone call and go and meet Trump, the way he was called from the G7 meet, and Modi did not take the offer. A couple of times this has happened. So there are two shrewd realists. One is brazenly open, and second understands what is going to happen if I publicly talk to him, and that balancing act is happening. So Trump is truly realist. He also knows to keep a line open to India, but please understand the Indian government has to look after 1.4 billion people. I totally agree with Glenn when you look at the market fluctuation and all. When you talk of 50%, 75% tariffs have got implications which actually, when you start rolling down, it has got a double implication for the country, which is also putting on sanctions on you. So while our economy will be able to absorb those so-called shocks, but the duplicity which was in play by the top world countries is totally exposed. The question I will just put across is that why does European Union has not yet sanctioned the natural gas and LNG till now? They continue to fuel Putin's war chest, in case so is called, because there's a large number in almost all countries of European Union continue to take this thing. Even America, even Trump, by his own admission, is buying very, very important assets from the Russians. And Putin has come out very clearly and said that my trade with you has risen by about 40%.
Here's the thing, General Saab. What my point is, what are we doing to actively expose the US hypocrisy in terms of a concerted campaign to call Trump's bluff or the establishment's bluff? Are we losing the narrative war? Because, and Sunil Alagh, that's where, not just as a trade pundit, but also as a brand advisor. Are we doing enough amount of lobbying? Are we ensuring the likes of Navarro, Lutnick, etc. don't make these statements? One. Secondly, are we exposing Trump's hypocrisy, European Union's hypocrisy, beyond the comments of Minister Jaishankar and some comments from some of the ambassadors? What are we doing to take it to the masses? Gee.
What we have to do now with the Trump is that if you go openly against him, he's going to raise the tariff. He's going to take it up to 100%, 200%. So what Modi is doing, what our Prime Minister is doing, is that he's keeping quiet. He's keeping quiet because it's stuck at 50%. No matter what he says, what he does, openly, he's coming across, he's taken Venezuela and he's said about Greenland and he's called that Gulf of Mexico into Gulf of America. He's called everything. But Modi is not saying a word because there's no point in challenging Trump right now and then saying against him, because if you go out open against him, see, we might be doing a number of things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I'm unaware of those, whether we are lobbying with all the cabinet and everything that America has. Look, we are staying away from everything. What Modi has been doing it very well is that he stayed away from, because openly if he's challenging Trump and he goes into EU, then he'll raise it. Trump is that kind of guy. He understands him better than he understands us. So therefore, he is going to drive us. If he increases the tariff, he's driving us towards China and Russia. What are they saying? What are they saying is right now, whether it's Pakistan, which is coming up in the armed forces, they might give arms to China, would give arms if there's an attack. But they are not starting another war against us. at this point of time. So therefore, Mr. Modi is playing. India is 7.5%. Some people say it's 7%. Some people say it's 7.5%. GDP growth. We are a player in the world, and Modi realizes it. And therefore, opposing Trump openly is pointless.
Right.
Absolutely pointless. Now, unless we have the midterm polls, which America is going to face right now, and if they vote against Modi, they vote against Trump, then we have to think about it. But if they vote for Trump, then all the Republicans come into power. Then all the Democrats see. New York is an example of Mamdani is becoming Democrats. They are coming in now, and if by midterm poll, he is promised that, look, they are going to sue me. Everyone is going to court against him in America. And why are they going to court? Because we are doing things behind the scene. We are not openly opposing Trump. There's no point in opposing Trump openly because he's going to change his mind every month, every 2 months he's changing his mind.
No. So what are we doing consistently, and do we also as a nation need to think beyond our dependence on US trade? Should we need to very actively, openly spread open our power portfolio, increase our entire export basket across nations, and should we do it like yesterday rather than day after tomorrow? I'm parking that thought. I'm sorry, I've got to wind this up quickly, shorten this, truncate this a bit because we've got big news coming in on the Bengal front. Earlier in the evening, viewers, we told you that the Enforcement Directorate has filed a writ petition in the Kolkata High Court. Now top sources telling CNN News 18 on the entire Enforcement Directorate versus the Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Bandyopadhyay that the ED is likely to approach the Honorable Supreme Court in this entire IPAC matter. The Enforcement Directorate's legal team is considering the option to knock the top court's doors because the hearing in the High Court itself was delayed today and it's been pushed to the 12th. ED lawyers are may allege that for a fair adjudication, the Honorable Supreme Court is the best forum. ED lawyers are considering all legal options and primary argument is transparency of the probe itself. The Enforcement Directorate to allege complete breakdown of law and order mechanism and perhaps an forced takeover by the Home Minister of Bengal, who's also its Chief Minister. Ananya Bhatnagar joins us with more details. Yes, Ananya.
Well, absolutely. Legal sources and people who are privy to these developments are telling CNN News 18 very categorically that the Enforcement Directorate is considering all options to approach the topmost court of the country because that remains to be one of the clearest and the most clear forums as far as this adjudication is concerned. They are considering all options as far as legal battle is concerned because today what happened was that because of the chaos in the courtroom, the hearing was adjourned to the 14th of January. But now the Enforcement Directorate considering all options, most probably approaching the topmost court of the country very, very soon in order to get this probe in its hand because the Enforcement Directorate, had faced a lot of problems when it was trying to conduct an investigation as far as IPAC was concerned. And now today, the Enforcement Directorate's legal team has told them and has advised them that Supreme Court could be a very, very fair and a credible option as far as the legal adjudication is concerned. So very clearly, all options are being explored at this particular point of time. We'll get to know in a short bit or at least in a day or two as to whether the Supreme Court would be the option.
Well, thank you for that update, Ananya. Clearly, they've moved the Kolkata High Court. Will they move the Honorable Supreme Court? Will it happen over the weekend or will it spill over into next week? And we'll see how the Trinamool Congress and the Bengal Chief Minister respond. Winding up the right stand on that note, thank you for watching. Namaste.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The Madras High Court has temporarily stayed the single judge's order directing the CBFC to grant the certificate to the movie Jananayagan. Movie won't release during Pongal holidays, biggest festival in Tamil Nadu. So that is a setback for actor Vijay. And this is in the Jananayagan controversy that we've been tracking for you. For more on this, we have Purnima Murli live with us. We have Ananya Bhatnagar and we have Vivek Naran. Thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. Vivek, let me just come to you first. How do you see this entire battle that we're seeing?
Major roller coaster ride there for actor turned politician Vijay. The orders passed by the single judge has been quashed by the Chief Justice of the Madras High Court. Earlier in the day, we saw high drama when Justice P.T. Asha had ordered the Central Board of Film Certification to release the movie as early as possible and ensure that the release happens as per the actor's wishes. And as per the judge, the courts cannot sit on it, and they can't be judicial up and down over a cinema for this long, because lots depend on a movie. It was to be released today. There were already tickets which were sold. There was a state of flux among Vijay's producers. They were panicking, which the judge at that point, Justice P.T. Asha, said the movie needs to be released as a UA movie as it was earlier decided. But the CBFC court lawyers had appealed to the High Court Chief Justice. The case was heard a little while back and the orders passed. The single judge has quashed the orders of the earlier court, saying that the release will not be happening and the case has been postponed to 21st. So, as you rightly said, no Vijay movie on the 21st on Pongal, which is a big event in Tamil Nadu. Pongal release is like the prime for any actor down south, and if the Pongal release does well, and remember, this was to be Vijay's swan song, his last movie as an actor as he moves on and transitions into a politician's role. This was supposed to kind of propel him to the chief minister's chair. I mean, that's what he actually thought as would be happening, but that doesn't seem to have happened.
All right. Now, of course, Poonama, let me come to you also. We were just discussing this a short while ago. You have been talking to the people on ground. So many of them so excited the movie is going to come out. Finally, a lot of them had pre-bookings as well. They are surely going to be left disappointed. I mean, as is, of course, actor turned politician Vijay, who barely got some taste of relief there, but only for it to be taken away.
Morning, we saw fans outside the Madras High Court distributing sweets, having posters of Jananayagan and celebrating, and said that they are confident that by tomorrow they will be able to watch their Talapati on the silver screen, but that is not going to happen. That celebration was short-lived. Now it's a setback for the Jananayagan movie makers, as the CJ bench has stayed Justice P.T. Asha's order which directed the CBFC to grant the certificate, the census certificate to Jananayagam. However, initially the producers were confident that by next week, which is 14th January, is when Pongal festival is celebrated. It's a long weekend for the people of Tamil Nadu. They were at least hoping it could happen by next week, but now they'll have to wait. The case has been adjourned to the 21st of January. So we'll now have to see how the movie makers of Jananayagam now decide which way they'll go, whether they plan to challenge this. All eyes on that as well.
Right, Ananya, let me come to you, of course. There, the High Court has said that the producers are trying to put some sort of undue pressure, which is really not required at this time. They're saying that this movie is not going to release during Pongal. That's for sure that we're saying, and we're going to see any proceeding on this on the 21st of January. If you could just take us through that High Court order and what they've cited as the reasons.
Well, absolutely. It's like a day of ups and downs for the producers and Vijay as well, because a relief that was granted to him in the bonding was actually taken away by a division bench right in the evening. In fact, with certain crucial observations coming in the way of the producers, clearly saying that they tried to create a false emergency as far as the release of this film is concerned. Clearly questioning them as to why was a release date actually announced, even when there was no CBFC certification that was granted to this particular film, saying that these producers were trying to put some kind of a pressure on the court. Why was the High Court actually in such a hurry? Why was a sufficient time not given out to the centre or the CBFC to actually respond to this particular petition in a proper way? Is what in fact the division bench.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. It's a big setback to the latest and final Vijay movie. It's called Jananayagan, which means popular leader, leader of the people. It was slated for a Pongal release. Pongal, of course, is the biggest festival in Tamil Nadu. But today, the Madras High Court Division Bench has stayed the release of the movie, saying that a false sense of urgency was created. This now overturns an earlier order from the same High Court just this morning, which had paved the way for the CBFC to issue its clearance certificate for the film and thereby release the film. The appeal, the CBFC, which made the appeal to the High Court, and as a result, the High Court has overturned its earlier order and stayed the release of the film. Now, the question you may ask is, it is at the end of the day a film. Why are people afraid of a film? As much as political propaganda it seeks to spew across the state. Both the DMK and the BJP have welcomed the stay of this film. They say that this film is openly political, it's propaganda, it's partisan, and it is being used as a political launchpad. It has less to do with entertainment, more to do with politics. But why stall the release of this film? At the same time, the CBFC, the censor board, has also cleared another politically loaded film. You could argue it's a propaganda film. It's called Parasakti, which is welcomed by the DMK. Of course, there are some DMK connections as well to the distributors of this film. So then the question is, why a double standard? You are blocking the release of one film because it's political propaganda, but on the other, you're okay with another film getting cleared despite its own overt political leanings. Now, I want to first bring you up to speed with the legal journey of this film, Jananayagan. It has been sort of a political curse, as it were, because Vijay had announced long ago that this is going to be his last film as an actor. He's going to then take a break from films, retire from films, and concentrate entirely on his political career. There's been a sharp turn. There are contrasting observations today, first from the single judge bench, which came at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then the division bench, which pronounced the order at about 4-5 o'clock in the evening. The single judge bench said the stalled certification was crystal clear and afterthought, and it was motivated. Also, the division bench contradicted that and overturned that by saying that a false state of urgency was being created by fixing a release date before the censor certificate was obtained. The single judge bench said that entertaining last-minute complaints would set a dangerous precedent, while as the division bench said that such urgency creates undue pressure on the judiciary. There is no need to bypass standard certification procedures. The single judge bench said that such actions lead to the erosion of sanctity of the film board and its decision-making process. In contrast, the division bench has asked whether the producers could not wait for getting the censor certificate before they seal the release date. Now, even as the fate of Vijay's Jananayagan still continues to hang in the balance, the court has now fixed a date, 21st of January, which means the biggest festive season in the state, Pongal season. This movie will not see its release. It coincides, ironically though, with the release of another film called Parasakti. It's a film that's titled after the DMK's founding era classic, a movie that was penned by Mr. Karunanidhi himself. It was backed by interests close to the ruling party. Parasakti now gets a free run. It gets an open field amongst all the Pongal releases. The setback for Vijay is a blessing